All right, here we have an acceleration graph. It says a particle moves along the x-axis so that its acceleration is given by the graph above for all values of t, where t is in between 0 and 1. At time 0, the velocity of the particle is negative a half. Which of the following statements must be true? Now, if you just glean this, a lot of questions here about velocity. Question A is about position. We have no information about position. So, right, we don't even have a starting point. So A is out automatically. There's no way to recover a position, so I'm going to cross that off right away. The other questions are about velocity. So you should just note that when you're given acceleration, my velocity at any time is my velocity to start. And so we are given a start, right? We're given the initial velocity, which is negative a half, plus how my velocity changes. And so the change in velocity, okay, that we get from integrating from 0 to whenever, my acceleration function. Okay, and so there's my velocity function at any time. Now look at your acceleration graph. It's positive, right? And so now we can examine maybe some of the answer choices. The velocity of the particle is 0 for some t between 0 and 1. That is going to be true because our velocity starts at negative a half, but then we're just accumulating positive area the entire time. And at some point, we are going to get an area of a half. In fact, that'll happen pretty quickly. I mean, so like, how can we argue that? Can we find like already getting a half a unit's area somewhere in here? Well, I mean, 1 times a half, right? So like, look, there's 1, and there's a half. So clearly by the time you're at 0.5, t equals 0.5, you've already accumulated a half worth of area, and that will cancel out that negative a half, meaning the velocity is 0 at there. But actually, it'll happen before that because you've got this sliver up there. So actually, B is correct. Let's just kind of examine why the other ones are wrong while we're here. The velocity of the particle is negative for all values of t between 0 and 1. Well, no, because it's going to, right, by here, this is definitely bigger than a half. And then you're going to accumulate even more. So the velocity will be positive, so that's not true. The velocity of the particle is positive for all values of t between t equals 0 and t equals 1. Well, no, because it's starting negative, and until it accumulates enough area over here in the integral to cancel out, to negate the negative a half, it will be negative. So it's not positive the entire time. And then it says the velocity of the particle is less than 1/2 for all values of t between 0 and 1. Well, no, actually, negative a half is going to be the lowest it'll be because we are going to accumulate positive area. In other words, the velocity is increasing. And so that can't be true. So as I mentioned, it's B. That the velocity of the particle is 0 at some time t between 0 and 1.